like Thelonious Monk, Charlie Parker, Billie Holiday was my auntie. So we didn't know, it was so schizophrenic in terms of how we were raised, because there was so much beauty and culture in our lives. But then there's blood and guts all the time, because we had to save my mother from my father on a regular basis. I don't know how many children she lost as a result of them fighting. I remember getting up in the middle of the night one night, and she's hanging out of a 2-story apartment building, and he's holding on to her. I thought he'd thrown her out of the window to kill her, but she jumped out of the window to save herself. He did that in front of the 3rd baby she had. That, I know it sounds horrible, but that's really what it was. I think because we were smart enough to see things, we were able to look at them and say, oh my God, this is definitely not the way to treat a human being. You can't treat people and say you love them. But because they kept telling us they loved us, we didn't understand. The dichotomy was just so extreme. It was like superstar on one end and concentration camp kind of living on the other. We had 9 skull fractures between the 2 of us. There are 4, but we had to protect babies, so we got the beatings for them too. What can a baby do at 2 and a half that deserves a beating, that deserves something that knocks you out? And nobody said anything. So I understood very young that adults lie to protect each other. Otherwise, how could a doctor say that a 2-and-a-half-year-old was so mean she held her breath to pass out? That doesn't even make sense. But in my child mind, we believed it. So we didn't know. I'm sorry. This is really emotional for me. Thank you. But that was really our life. However, brilliance is wonderful on several levels, because I was the smartest kid in school and I loved it, and they let me breathe. My mother always told us that we were going to be insane. She makes us go crazy. There's a thin line between madness and genius. So in school, at least, I wasn't afraid. They let me learn. They let me create. They let me expand, so that all my life, I've always been in school. It was always a safe place for me. I've been teaching for 25 years. So, I can tell you stories for the rest of my life about my students, but I won't do that. But that's what happened to me. We turned out to be so kind that after a while we were abused by everybody that came in contact with us, because we just didn't know how to be mean. And even if you yell now, I don't know how to handle that. So anyhow, this woman that was so horrible was college educated when Black people weren't even going to college. She was that smart. She was one of the Black women that was putting the IBM computers into the systems and teaching people how to use computers 50 years ago. She was one of those women. She was considered, I think at some point, it's a rumor, that she would have been the first Black female newscaster in the state of New York. However, her obsession or addiction to my father made her get pregnant again and again and again. I don't know how many miscarriages. She didn't say that that's what they were. I'm saying it nice. How many times he beat a baby out of her. And all of that just to keep a man that didn't even know, he wanted to escape her too. I asked him when I was old, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you take us with you when you left? And he said that he was trying to save his life. So he must have been just as overwhelmed by her as we were, and we didn't understand, adult dichotomy. Anyhow, 17 years ago, 25 years ago, I moved to Florida. I became a substitute teacher. I mentored for Dress for Success, and I mentored for all sorts of programs, nonprofits, and I worked for NAMI. And when I worked for NAMI, I found Clubhouse. So all of my peers, I referred them to the Clubhouse. Because to be perfectly honest with you, the Clubhouse, I've been in and out of mental hospitals for a while. But the Clubhouse is the only place I have ever been exposed to that actually does what they say they're gonna do. There's no stigma, there's no judgment, you're safe. If anyone has any idea what it is to live in a state of fear and anxiety, 77 years of your life, I live in that state. It doesn't go away. And no matter how, whatever it is I've gotten over with, that is still broken. And recovery takes forever. It really, truly does. It's not, oh my goodness, I found something and it's, no, it doesn't work like that. There's no magic pill, there's no magic bubble. It's concentrating on yourself. It's focusing on what you are. It's understanding your disability or your challenge and making it work for you, as opposed to feeling like you're less. And that's what people do with mental health issues. We feel like we're less, and we're not. And this body of people has supported us and uplifted us so that we understand that we are more. Nobody can do the things that we do. I watch the people that I work with. Brilliant. We have a gentleman who was an air traffic controller. People have a tendency to think that we're stupid or there's something dumb. And a woman actually asked me that one time. I was a cop. Oh, I forgot about that one. A woman asked me one time, well, I used to do CIT training to teach police officers how to treat people when they're arrested and when they have mental health issues, as opposed to criminals. Because usually we're the victims, we're not the perpetrators. And she says, well, how did you pass the police test if you have mental health issues? I had to gasp a little bit. I said, I'm sorry, didn't I tell you I was brilliant? One has nothing to do with the other, okay? Thank you. Shut up after that. Hope Clubhouse is hope. Hope, it's a chance to breathe, it's a chance to be free, it's a chance to feel safe. And I can't say that enough, because safety is all I've ever wanted all my life, was just to feel safe anywhere. And everybody is capable of doing anything that they want, as long as they know in their heart it belongs to them. Don't let anybody else make you feel like less than you are. Don't let anybody else talk you down. Don't let anybody make you feel like less. Because it takes 100 million years to dig yourself out of that hole when that happens. So don't do it. Stop it right this minute. If a person comes to you and they're not on your level, leave them. If they tell you who they are and it's not cool, leave them. Because mental health doesn't get better in a mentally defective environment. It only gets better if you are around and surround yourself with people who care and understand what you are and who you are and accept you for that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Bullock. I'm from Thunderbird Clubhouse in Norman, Oklahoma. And to the north, I'm also a member and a founding board member of Oasis Clubhouse. It's really nice to be here. I want to thank you, Anna, for the invitation. This is the first time for me to try and tell my whole story. I've got it on my phone here. My experience with mental illness started in the 3rd grade. The truth is, all I knew was I didn't feel right. I had a great life. It was easy. The only fly in the ointment was we moved a lot. So it was all explained away by adjustment issues. It was more like depression, anxiety, which culminated in suicidal behavior. A suicide attempt. By the time I made it to 7th grade. With the help from my family, different therapies, I did okay. After high school, I was even admitted to a very competitive theater school. However, after my sophomore year, I lost the competition and wasn't invited back. I spent a couple of semesters at a very non-competitive theater school, and then I dropped out and began my professional life in theater. I started working for a tiny street theater, then a children's theater, a Shakespeare in the Park. And with the children's theater, many times we would teach a theater class for the students before the show. Soon I found myself teaching theater more than performing theater. When I was fired from my last theater I worked for, I went straight to the community college and started an education degree. When I returned to college, I was obsessed and hyper-focused. We still needed income, so I continued teaching theater arts on my own, moonlighting at a convenience store, while going to classes at community college and 2 different universities, and working with my wife to take care of our children. I poured all of my concentration, focus, and passion in getting through. I reached the point of obsession with my schoolwork. Anything below an A was an F. Consequently, I was under a great deal of stress. I remember punching and kicking a tree out in the parking lot. It worked. Not the tree kicking, the hyper-focus. I received an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, summa cum laude, and was licensed to teach special education all in the same calendar year. I chose to work with students with emotional and behavioral issues ostensibly because I knew I would always have a job because no one wanted that one. But I think I also kind of related. After teaching K through 5th grade elementary students with emotional disturbance for 6 years, I sat for and became a national board certified teacher. Now I had depression and anxiety through the whole time, but I kept myself so busy, they were kept at bay. As well as elementary school, I taught catechism at our church, I helped lead scout. I also played D&D obsessively. I began organizing conventions just to play more. Life was good. I couldn't enjoy it. I was sick and struggling to enjoy these many good things. It became more about what I did and not who I was. I was pedaling as fast as I could to stay ahead of my mental illness. It worked until it didn't. I had friends, a steady, low-paying job where I had national recognition. I had hobbies, a family I adored. To my extended family, I made sure to behave all hail and well met, good fellows. Inside, I was the picture of a person struggling to tread water. And I was beginning to fail. About the time I was hanging my national board certificate on the wall, I started to become delusional. My friends and colleagues tried to help me see better, but I began to believe I wasn't good enough for my students. I was failing them as a teacher. They would be better off without me. That's when the drumbeat of suicidal ideation came on stronger. I knew I was going to a dangerous place. I worked hard to hold myself together. To my family, I kept up the jolly persona. Inside, I was holding on by my toenails. Still, I was fortunate. I had many family members help me along the way, even when I didn't want to help myself. My work friends were all special ed teachers, and they understood. They were surprised by the severity, but they were warm and supportive. Yet I was so scared and so sad I was losing my teaching skills. I cared about my students so much, and when I couldn't meet my own expectation, I chose to walk away and go to residential treatment. Afterwards, that facility had an intensive outpatient program that was really good. It helped suicide-proof me, and I was out of danger. I was still lonely, scared though. Prior to finding Thunderbird Clubhouse, I was broken down, my professional reputation in tatters. I mostly sat around staring into space or pacing around muttering to myself, getting worse. I really found Thunderbird Clubhouse on my own. My counselor knew of Thunderbird Clubhouse, but I had to ask first. I must have brushed against the Clubhouse concept somewhere, so I specifically asked if there was somewhere I could go. Only then did he tell me about Thunderbird Clubhouse. I was so ready. I took to Clubhouse work and fun very easily. I like doing things that are useful, and there's always plenty to do. To me, most things fun are better shared, and the Clubhouse loves to share fun. The Clubhouse gives me the human connection to encourage me along. I found it therapeutic, not therapy. It's the difference between having a shipbuilder give you a great blueprint and then telling you to build a canoe while shooting the rapids. And what I needed, really, was having a friend walk beside me through the surf until I could find my own footing and make it to still water. I still need a trusty canoe for shooting the rapids that may come up, but now my therapist and I are not trying to build it with water up to my neck. I have grown so much in size. I don't apologize to everyone about everything so much anymore. I still put myself down inside, but I don't believe it. I'm learning to embrace my imperfections and my clumsy, cringy moments. I don't have to do things the right way. This is fortunate because I couldn't do them the right way no matter how hard I tried. I just do things now and roll with the outcome. I appreciate my abilities more. You see, after I got too sick to work, I worried I'd never be in a position to really be able to make a difference, or just even matter again. Thunderbird has raised me up. I'm important at my clubhouse, and I can make things happen just because I am willing to try. Self-esteem is scary for me, but I'm not afraid when my colleagues and I work together. I was struggling to keep my bills and money straight, even with family help. It made a big difference when I sat down with Deanna, my math buddy, and worked out my money situation. Things got better. Now I have a budget and a way to track it. My daily routine now is I go straight to one of my 2 clubhouses, and as soon as I'm up and around, after the morning unit meeting, I usually help in the kitchen with cooking. I have always loved to cook for large groups of people. I also work at the snack bar and serve and wait tables. I'm a member driver and often help with the afternoon pickup. I attended Thunderbird Clubhouse every day for 1.5 years. Then I was able to return to independent employment as a special education teacher. Thunderbird Clubhouse added another 10 years to my teaching career. It was not only beneficial for me, though. I ask you to consider what 10 years of a special education teacher's career is worth to a community now. They really made a difference. I hoped and dream of being, during this time, I reaped the benefits of the reach out system at Thunderbird Clubhouse. Every month there were cards and calls. I knew I wasn't working without a net. A bit of that psychological relief helped me keep going when things were difficult. I hoped and dreamed of becoming a part of growing a new clubhouse. Now I'm privileged to be on the faculty with my beloved Thunderbird Clubhouse. I'm also excited to say that I'm a founding member and a founding board member of the new Oasis Clubhouse in Edmond. We are hiring. Seriously. Furthermore, I envision a greater Oklahoma City metro area with 4 clubhouses to start a strong Oklahoma coalition, and I have an opportunity to participate in that meaningful work. I've had the great fortune to have Thunderbird Clubhouse close enough for me to attend, even if it is a 45-minute commute, but not everyone is so fortunate. That is, however, at least one of the reasons I was so excited to help build Oasis. That was a 15-minute commute. Thunderbird will always be in my heart, but just like the Grinches, it is growing to encompass a wider clubhouse community. I thank you for this opportunity to share my story.
Thank you so much, Bill. Welcome, Carol.
Be careful up here. I'm not very steady on my feet, so my apologies. And I don't really want to fall down the back, which I could do. Now, first of all, an apology. You may have been expecting to hear from a lovely lady, Isabel, from Amsterdam. Instead, you get me. And second, a thank you for laying on all the rain to remind me of London. That's very kind of you. It really is kind, but thank you. I've had enough reminder, don't need any more, and actually London is bathing in sunshine. So yes, I'm from London, UK. There is another Mosaic Clubhouse in the USA, but Mosaic Clubhouse in London is very special. It is actually the only accredited clubhouse in the UK. And what is my luck, that I live in the borough where it is. Mind you, it was there for quite some years. It's marked 30 years last year, and I marked 30 years in Brixton a couple of weeks ago. But we'll go back a little bit. I actually was, I can't say I'm a nurse and midwife anymore, but I am a trained nurse and midwife and had a long career in various settings as a nurse and as a midwife in England and in South Africa for a year. The end of my career was actually as a midwife at King's College Hospital, my local hospital. It's famous for a lot of things in the UK, but I was a midwife there. Now, I got ill in 2017, but in 2013 I took on a job working on the maternity helpline. And I thought, I found the job that was meant for me. I enjoyed it, I was happy, I was helping people, it was wonderful. But they had to make cutbacks. And one of the things they decided to cut was the maternity helpline job. But they took a year to do it. So I had an agony for a year while they decided when it was going to happen. So then I had to return to working on the ward, which was very, very demanding, and it took its toll on me. I was always kind of been an anxious sort of person, but it was getting to the parts where I was sort of dreading going into work. I could feel sweaty. I was having symptoms I'd never had before. And I spoke to my friends and they said, oh, it's just the work, don't worry about it. It's, you know, it's warm here, blah, 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 blah. But as well as that going on, I also had my 90-year-old mother, who, sorry, I should have said, I was born and brought up in London, North London, and I came south of the river in the early 90s. And there is a difference. If the south of the river, there is a real South London accent, and I'm sorry, I can't mimic it. So you're getting a North London accent from someone living in South London. Well, I lost my train of thought there. I do apologise. Yes, my mother. So my parents, they decided to retire back to Ireland, where the village where my father came from. And it was the right move for them. It was blissful for them. My father was a very happy man. But he died in 2006, and my mother was rather frail. She turned 80 the next year, and she was rather frail. And so from 2006 to 2017, there was the constant worry of my mother. My two brothers, one was already settled in Ireland, but my mother decided she was staying in her own home, which is fine, except it was damp and rotten. So I'm laying this on thick because it was a real worry for all of us. I mean, I remember saying to my sister, you know, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown after Mum dies. Well, actually, I had my nervous breakdown exactly 1 month before she died. And it just happened one morning, I was with a friend, alarm didn't go off, and I just lost it. And for quite some time, I was like this. This is what I was like. I'm actually comparatively calm at the moment. And as things got worse, obviously I broke. a month later, my mother died, and then so I was referred to my GP, and I didn't want medicine. I was getting back to work. My plan was always going back to work. But eventually I had to concede to try medicine, because I'd been at that point diagnosed with anxiety. Didn't touch me. Then I was seen by another GP, and he threw in anxiety. And then I had another one, a relationship broke down, and that's when suicidal thoughts became very strong. And so strong, I had to go into hospital. And I was there for a few weeks, and I was just put on a shed load of medicines, most of which I'm still taking. But while I was there, I used to go for walks, and just so that I wasn't lost, they gave me a little business card with the telephone number on it. And I thought, fine, and I took no notice of it for quite a while. And then one day, I looked at it, and it said Mosaic Clubhouse. And I thought, what's this? So I looked at the website. Oh, it deals with people with mental health problems. Well, that's me. So my care coordinator made a referral. No, rather I went for a tour, got the form. Now it's all online, but at that point we dealt in papers. And so I joined. Now I was a bit of a quiet person. In fact, at a video that was made about the Clubhouse, Beverly Randall, the program director, said, I didn't do anything because I'm quiet. I just get on with things. But I worked on reception because I was used to dealing with phones and trained other people. And just gradually, it was a very slow recovery for me. And I didn't go in every day because, you know, dealing with people was just too much for me. But then COVID happened and we went online. And that's where I formed more relationships. I annoyed a lot of people because we had quizzes. And I became known as the quiz queen because I won a lot. I was lucky that I had had a good education and I had been able to, sorry. So then when we went back, I was more comfortable. I knew people. I helped get Mosaic back up running after COVID happened, giving advice, given my background. And just slowly I became more involved with things. And then I saw, oh, colleague training in Toronto. Well, I'd like to go to Niagara Falls. But I didn't say I wanted to do that. You know, I'll do colleague training. We got there. I got to Niagara Falls, which was wonderful. But the experience was amazing to learn more and more about the Clubhouse model. When I got back, a marvellous man, Lee Elliott, said, right, you've done colleague training. You can now help me do colleague training. And I did that. I also did mental health training days. I spoke on Zoom calls to speak about the work of Mosaic. So I was gradually drawn into the work of the place. And then Lee said, why don't you join the faculty? And he made sure I had an application form, and I spoke to Chris, and he said yes. So I did the training, joined the faculty, and now I'm travelling. And it's, sorry, I know I'm going too long. But the faculty has been wonderful, because my plan when I retired was to travel. Well, that was knocked on the head. I couldn't travel on my own. But then with faculty, the opportunity arose, and so I travelled. And it's wonderful. I'm engaged in, I'm here. This is the first seminar I have attended. I was actually anxious sitting there, because I suddenly thought, I've spoken about myself quite a few times, but never to a group of my peers. I've spoken to lots of people, but not folks like yourselves. So Mosaic has been wonderful. It has turned my life around. The name Mosaic, though I don't know why it happened, but actually I was thinking about it, it's what we are. It's made up of, I don't know if any of you have ever made a mosaic. You have to be very careful in fitting things together and then putting the grout in. And that's what goes on in Mosaic Clubhouse. There's all sorts of people at all sorts of level of health. Of course, you can go up and down, but it's there for everyone. And I am just so grateful that it was there for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Susie?
Good morning, everyone. My name. Good morning. A little bit nervous. Yes, because English is not my first language; it's my third language. Yes. Yes. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cici, which is come from Phoenix Clubhouse in Hong Kong, China. It is an honor to stand here today to share my story, a story of struggle, healing, and finding a place I can truly call home. 5 years ago, I was lost in a world of chaos and loneliness. Today, I stand before you as a woman who has found stability, strength, and love. Thanks to Phoenix Clubhouse, a place that became my family, my anchor, and my second home. Before Phoenix Clubhouse, my life felt like a storm with no end. I had no real friends, no routine, no purpose. I was drowning in loneliness, desperate for someone to see me, to care about me. Growing up, my home was not a safe haven. My father's anger often turned to violence, and I grew up feeling unloved and unwanted. I became rebellious, searching for an escape from the pain. I craved warmth, connection, someone to tell me I was enough, but all I felt was an emptiness. At 16, my world fell apart further. I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I was just a teenager navigating school and heartbreak from my first love. The pain of that loss consumed me. Sleepless nights turned to tears, and soon I began hearing voices, whispers that distressed me. My behavior changed, alarming my teachers and family. After the diagnosis and hospitalization, I returned to school a shadow of myself. The medication doubted my mind, changed my appearance, and stole my love. I felt like I had lost who I was. As I grew older, the loneliness became unbearable. I longed to feel loved, to feel needed. But I didn't know where to find that connection. In my desperation, I turned to the wrong places. Online platforms, strangers, fleeting relationships. I thought casual encounters would fill the emptiness. That day would make me feel warm. But they didn't. Each time I felt more broken, more alone. I had no true friends, no one I could trust, Every rejection pushed me deeper into despair. I kept chasing the same empty promises, hoping one day I'd find the love I want. My life was a cycle of instability. Lost jobs, relapse, hospital stays. I felt like I was falling apart, with no one can catch me. Then everything changed. I found Phoenix Clubhouse. I still remember my first day, stepping through those doors after another hospital stay. I was fragile, jobless, and terrified. But something about this place felt different. It wasn't just a center, it was a community. The warmth of the staff, the smiles of the members, it was like stepping into a home I never knew I could have. At Phoenix Clubhouse, I found structure. Days had meaning. Members and staff worked together as equals, not as patients and professionals. There were activities that nurtured my body and soul. Cooking, arts, discussion, and above all, there was kindness. For the first time in years, I began to breathe again. Phoenix Clubhouse didn't just give me stability, they gave me a real relationship, friendship. Something I had never truly had. Shelley, Michelle, Charlotte, Rennie, Eunice, these names are not just the names to me, they are my family. People who saw me at my lowest and chose to stand by me. They celebrate my victories, listen to my fears, and remind me that I was never alone. For so long, I have lived in fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, but at the clubhouse, mistakes wasn't punished, they were part of growth. The staff never judged me when I stumbled. Instead, they guide me with patience, teaching me to trust myself. I watch other members, people have the same diagnosis as mine, carrying themselves with confidence. I wonder, how do they do it? Then I realized it wasn't about the illness, it was about how we saw ourselves. Phoenix Clubhouse helps me see myself differently, not as a broken, but as someone capable of raising. For the first time, I felt needed, I felt loved, I felt like I belonged. With the support of Phoenix Clubhouse, I found the courage to rebuild my life. Employment, once a source of fear, became a journey of growth. The clubhouse didn't just hand me jobs, they gave me tools, lesson me how, interview practice, even staff who came with me to work to ease my tension. When I struggled, I had a community to lean on. Employment discussion with other members reminds me that we were in this together. I started the transitional employment, then moved to supported and independent work. Each step builds my confidence. Work no longer scares me, it empowers me. And no matter where life took me, I knew Phoenix Clubhouse will always be there. Looking back, I see a girl who was once consumed by despair, who thought she'd never find her way, but I did. And I'm so grateful. Phoenix Clubhouse is more than a place, it's a family. I want to thank our director, Francis. Life is about more than success. It's about embracing who we are. To the staff, to the members, every person who has walked this journey with me, thank you. It gave me more none of them I can ever repay. In these 5 years, I've done things I never thought possible. I rebuilt my routines, share my story, work at a major company, become an MC, lead activities, taught arts and choreography in the Clubhouse, trains in the US at Genesis Club, became a member representative of advisory board of Phoenix Clubhouse, and we have co-written Notes from the Heart, a song about mental illness, and I will show you this song later. Each step was possible because of Phoenix Clubhouse. 2 years ago, I married a man who loves me for who I am. It's not easy. I very cherish him. Yeah. I never thought I'd find someone who truly accepts me, but I did. And it's a gift I cherish every day. When I say Phoenix Clubhouse is my second home, I mean it with all my heart. It's where I found stability, where I found friends who became family, where I learned I'm enough. It's where I found love, not just from others, but for myself. To anyone feeling lost, alone, or broken, there is hope. There is a place for you. And there are people who will love you for who you are. For me, that place is Phoenix Clubhouse. And I will forever be grateful. Thank you.